We're here with Sherilyn West, who was diagnosed with ADHD, and I'm just going to ask her a few questions about what it was like to grow up and about her diagnosis and how things have been for her. Sherilyn, how old were you when you were diagnosed with ADHD?
I was actually 19 when I was diagnosed.
Okay. And what prompted you at the age of 19?
Well, I always kind of joked about the fact that I probably had ADHD, and after I took some classes in my university degree, like once I changed to business, it just kind of prompted me and my parents to go and get that checked out.
Okay, great. And how did your teachers, especially the ones here at university, treat you before your diagnosis as compared to after?
I think they kind of treated me like I was a little slower, so they had to be a little more patient with me, but that was fine. But now that I'm now diagnosed and have to deal with it, it's almost awkward, I guess, because they're kind of having to learn how my accommodations work, and it's something new, right?
Right. So with respect to accommodations that you just mentioned, what kind of accommodations do you get here at Crandall?
I get time and a half to write exams and tests, which is nice, and I get to write in a room by myself because I get distracted very, very easily.
Yeah. And what things were the most challenging for you as, you know, even when you were younger and you having ADHD, but it was undiagnosed? What did you get in trouble a lot in your class at school?
Well,
and
as you can see, I'm like moving all over the place. I could never sit still. I'm still like that now. I don't like being on medication, so I don't take it. But with my teachers in school, they always had to be after me to stay in one spot. And even now, I'm like, I have to be somewhere, everywhere, all the time. And it's pretty complicated. But yeah, other than that, I'm not really sure.
Okay. How were you treated by your peers? Did they talk about you behind your back, saying that Sherilyn, she can't sit still, or anything like that?
I think they just figured I was an outgoing kid. I was pretty shy, but I was also really outgoing at the same time. They didn't really treat me weird. I was fortunate.
Yeah, so did you feel like you fit in?
Yeah.
Yeah, had no problems with that? And once you were diagnosed and your friends found out, did they just have this aha moment? Did they treat you any differently?
They didn't treat me any differently at all, because especially since it was later in life, they were just like, oh, we're not really surprised, because you were always kind of 100 places at once.
Now tell me about your parents. What do they think about your diagnosis? Did they always find you were, just say, when you were growing up, Sherilyn, would you just, sit down, sit still? Were you constantly being told that?
Always. Like, I was taking piano lessons. I'll give you this as an example. It's actually really funny. We've talked about this a couple times now at home, but I could never sit down and practice for a half an hour period at a time because it drove me nuts to just sit there and read. Even though I was doing a few things at once, I was still having to sit there, read and learn the music, and then play it, but it was a challenge to sit there and make myself practice, and my parents are wonderful people, but they would always joke about the fact that I just couldn't stay still. And like now they're good about it. It was something new, so it's obviously hard to adjust to that, especially as I'm older.
Right.
But yeah, it's been kind of a challenge, but kind of not
right.
at the same time.
Now your dad was a teacher and still is a teacher.
Yeah.
He didn't notice anything different about you, where he would have been in contact with kids that had ADHD?
I feel like that might even be a reason why he didn't notice, is because he was so used to it. So maybe he was just used to the activity and the enthusiasm of the students that were always everywhere all at once, kind of like I was. So he just really didn't think anything of it. I feel like the whole ADHD thing and the ADD thing and all these other sort of disorders, so to speak, have come a lot more alive over the past 10-year period. I don't think they were so much talked about. I don't remember really hearing about it when I was a kid.
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions I have for you today, Sherilyn. Thanks so much for your time.
No problem.
Bye.